Coming up, we'll be joined by Charlie Weimers, the Swedish member of the European Parliament from the right-wing Swedish Democrats, the Vice President of the European Conservative and Reformists, who's been working on this file inside the European Parliament. The Parliament, of course, will have to greenlight this file and also EU countries, but it could enter into force as soon as next month. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Europe Today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So I know we've been debating this here in Brussels for months, but just remind our viewers what is in this deal, because some say the measures are rather draconian.
Well, the EU has reached a landmark deal on the return regulation. That means, for instance, longer detention periods to prevent people from absconding, firm entry bans that carry real weight, and the legal framework for return hubs. So, indeed, the era of deportations has begun. We're moving from words to actual enforcement of our laws and our borders.
But this kind of language would not have been used here in Brussels 10 years ago. What has changed?
Reality has kicked in, and everyone sees that mass uncontrolled migration cannot continue, and people demand answers to how we are going to take back control over the migration policy. And remember, 1 out of 5 with a final return decision is going home today. Hundreds of thousands of people are going into the shadows every year in Europe, and that needs to stop.
But the mass migration crisis, if you like, was in 2016. In 2026, the picture is very different, and the numbers of irregular migration are gone down, if you look at the Frontex figures.
Well, they have gone down since 2015. That was a very extreme year. But the effects, the consequences of years of illegal migration are there. Just look at Paris this past weekend. People seize this, and they demand that the EU does something about border control, does something about returns.
But why do you think this will fix the problem? Does migration not need an overall much more holistic approach?
Well, we do have a holistic approach. For instance, we are stopping asylum shopping, people moving through a range of safe countries on their way to a destination in a rich country in Europe. Now we are focusing on helping people in their area. We're also looking at how to make countries take back their own citizens, something that has been one of the major obstacles to effective returns through the years. We are going to use trade, aid, visa policy to get those countries to take back their citizens.
But the Greens and other parties and NGOs, civil society, are not happy. The Greens have said this agreement legalises return hubs outside the EU. It gives a green light to the detention of minors and to lifetime entry bans without serious legal grounds. They say fundamental rights stand at the top of the hierarchy of norms, because the EU is meant to be a union of values. We hear this so much coming out of Brussels.
A very important value of the European Union is rule of law. And if we're talking about human rights, that includes the right of Europeans to live in safe societies governed by the rule of law. And I wonder why the Greens won't accept the idea of, for instance, terror suspects getting lifetime entry bans. Why do the Greens want them in Europe? That's the question.
That's a question for perhaps The Ring, our debating show here on Euronews. Mr. Weimers, thank you so much for being our guest this morning on Europe Today.